Welcome to Western Hospice Care's series of conversations about death and dying. My name is Jen Wakefield and I'm the Family Support Team Manager at Western Hospice Care. In conjunction with Hospice UK and the National Dying Matters Awareness Week, we aim to discuss some of your thoughts and questions about death and dying in general, as well as during this coronavirus pandemic. We hope you find these conversations informative and useful, but don't forget that you can always contact us using the details on our website for more information. We'll also be posting some links to other online resources that you may find helpful. Our team in conversation today are
lots of people are very anxious about this. So I think the first thing to do is to say that there are choices here. And the more I've been dealing with people in bereavement, organising a funeral over the past few weeks, people are realising that they can make a choice. So some people are saying, because there are restrictions on how many people can currently attend the crematorium, which has been limited to 10 people, people are choosing perhaps not to have an attended cremation, but planning to have an event of celebration for someone's life some months down the line. For those people who do choose to have a funeral, they go ahead, they can plan as normal in conjunction with the funeral director and whoever takes the service. The limitations at the crematorium are, as I say, 10 people attend, chairs are placed at a social distance so people can sit safely. There's good protection measures in place as far as hand sanitizer, etc. is concerned. So the crematorium have really taken great care in making them as safe a place as possible. At the moment, churches are closed for funerals. That may change quite soon, I believe. We're just waiting for advice. But currently, if a funeral is going to happen, it will be at the crematorium or in a cemetery. But as far as the content's concerned, people can choose music readings as normal. One positive thing that's happening is that a lot of people are choosing to have their service webcast to those people who can't attend. So again, you make that request to the funeral director, a link's provided that you give to those people who want to participate, albeit remotely, but can be there in some way. And people are finding this really helpful so that, you can't see the number of people there, but you know that other people are sharing that moment with you. What I've observed as well, I just make this point, is that often funerals are very big public events with lots of people there, all sharing stories, and quite often the key mourners, if you like, the close family, will say, I've got to keep a brave face on for everybody. What I'm noticing is that this small group of people are able to let go a little bit more of their emotions than they would normally do. And I think that's often quite helpful, that you don't have to be pretending to be all right. You can just sit and cry if that's what's helpful. So funerals are difficult, they're different, they can happen, and funeral directors are working very hard to make sure that they're, as far as possible, the event that you want to have for the loved one.
Well, firstly, yes, it's very normal and very common, actually. And there's many reasons why we feel deeply affected when someone we don't know dies. Firstly, their death could touch a painful experience of your own and bring back very strong memories of a previous experience or bereavement. There may be an aspect of them that just resonates with your own experience. They may be the same age as you, or they have children the same age. It can make us feel very vulnerable when we hear of people just like us who are dying. And it challenges our assumptions and beliefs about how the world works and what can and cannot happen. Sometimes we'll see news about somebody who's very well known on the news that has died, and that can also feel quite unusual, but we can be quite strongly affected. And I think that one of the reasons for that is they feel part of a landscape that we feel won't change. And when that does change, we can feel very shaken by it. So it's very normal to feel fragile at a time like this, especially I think if you've experienced a recent bereavement or just a previous difficult life event. So I'd say if you feel it, give yourself permission to feel sad about it. If you feel like you're struggling, talk to somebody about it. Mark it in some way if you need to, and just remember those people who have recently died.
At the hospice and the inpatient unit, and certainly for the community team, we meet patients who are facing the knowledge that their life is more limited, and we try to discuss with them what their wishes are, their hopes and their fears, including any thoughts that they have about where they may want to be cared for at the end of their life. And these conversations are never easy and can be very emotional, but having these discussions won't bring that time nearer, and can be so helpful for the person who's really thinking about the decision that they're making, but also for their family and friends and loved ones. So just dealing with the first part, can I choose where to die, and thinking about the place that's right for you is an important part of advanced care planning, and having those thoughts can then lead on to discussions perhaps with your family and friends, and those discussions may help to guide you into making the choice that's right for you. What are my options? I think generally the choice that people make is perhaps to remain at home with their family, or just to be at home, or in a care home if that is their home. Sometimes people will choose to come into the hospice, or for some people being in hospital is the right place, and that's what they would hope for. And I think for each of us there are different reasons why we may choose one or the other, but they all have implications, and I think that's why it is so important to discuss with your family, with loved ones, with your GP, with your hospice nurse, or another healthcare professional, what the implications of each of those choices might be, and that might be helpful. If you do make a choice, I think it's important to know that should be recorded. I think it's part of that knowing that these wishes will be honoured, because I think unless that choice is recorded somewhere, it's going to be difficult to sort of push that forward. And you may have heard of things like respect forms or treatment escalation plans, and these are all a format that those wishes can be recorded also in your GP notes, and it makes sure the right people know. And then lastly, how can I be certain that my wishes are honoured? I think when a person expresses a wish to be in a certain place at the end of their life, then their families and certainly professionals will do all that we can to endeavour that happens for them.
Well, firstly, that's not an uncommon question, and something that a lot of people do think, which I think is a shame. We need to get the message out there that it isn't just a place where people come to die. Yes, people do, of course, often because this is where they've chosen to be at the end of their life. But we have an awful lot of people, patients, that come in and are discharged either home again, or at times, if it's appropriate, to other places of care. But patients come in for a variety of reasons. If there's symptoms at home that need more closer monitoring and introduction of medication to see how effective that is, or medication treatments that can reverse effects of symptoms that they're currently having, then this is the right place to be for it. It's really good if patients get the opportunity to come in to just see the hospice before being admitted, and certainly our community team of nurses do that as when it's appropriate and as often as possible. And if we've got patients that are already coming into the outpatient or day hospice facilities, they've already got a feel, or they can come in and see the unit. And I think that really does help, because it's not a dark, dreary, miserable place. There are times when obviously there's a lot of sadness and we all get affected by that. But on the whole, there's a lot of laughter to be heard, often singing, and the events and things going on in day hospice, sorry, excuse me, which I think gives the feel of what the place is like. And we have patients who may go home and then come back again for whatever reason, and they come back the second time feeling much more comfortable about it.
So this is a really common concern, I think, that people have. I think being told or it being suggested that you should not be for resuscitation can be a really scary thought, and it can feel like you're being told that your life isn't worth saving, or that you're being abandoned by the services that are there to look after you. The form that you will have been given is usually going to be called a respect form or a treatment escalation plan. And the aim of the form is to try and give you a way of making your preferences and your choices known. The form it's a way of documenting those choices and preferences. The discussion around resuscitation is a very small part of that form, and it is something that's an important part of the conversation as well. And I think it's not so much about not doing things, but about allowing people to have a natural and dignified death if that does occur. It's the specific circumstances that resuscitation applies to is if somebody has a sudden cardiac arrest. And actually, in people with life-limiting serious illnesses, that happening in an acute, sudden way is actually really, really unlikely. So it's about allowing death to occur naturally and not intervening in when that does happen. But also, I think it's really important to be clear that it is a very specific circumstances, and even if you have documented on the form that you are not for resuscitation, that absolutely doesn't mean that nothing would be done. So it doesn't mean that you won't be admitted to hospital if you need to be admitted to hospital for other reasons. It doesn't mean that you don't have access to other treatment like symptom control or support for you and your family. So I think the first thing that I would say is that bereavement is really difficult, that it's absolutely normal to find it difficult to lose somebody that you love and are close to. That it's normal to experience a range of emotions, as well as just the sadness at losing somebody you love. It's normal and really common to experience other emotions, including things like guilt and anger. People who have mental health conditions may find bereavement particularly difficult to cope with. And I think I would just say, think about what your usual support mechanisms would be and what your usual coping strategies would be, and maybe think about how you might access some of those coping strategies and supports before you get to a position where you are really struggling. Not that you necessarily will, but also let people around you know what's going on as well. So talk to the people that you would usually talk to and get your support from. Let the professionals know if you have anybody involved in your care, whether that's your GP or other professionals that you normally access for support. Let them know what's happening and keep in touch with people, and don't feel like you have to cope on your own.
I think often the attending a funeral can be an added pressure or stress as well for someone. So again, there's no right or wrong here. If you feel that attending a funeral is just too much, don't feel a pressure to do that. You really don't have to. If you choose to attend, make sure you've got good support with you and after the ceremony as well. So just taking care in a sensible way, but there's no pressure to do what other people feel is right or wrong.